throughout the entire major. But then, Frankie, you were mentioning it right there, some names that you'd expect to do really well. A little bit of a running theme with this season. Names you'd expect to do well, not doing well. So it's like maybe there could be a bit of a trip up here for these guys. But when you look at their performances last year, both individually and, of course, as part of their trios, Levin, this is two players that really you'd expect so much better from.
It's going to be so interesting to see what those guys can do tonight if they can get a victory royale. No one can play scared tonight. And I don't think this next duo is going to play scared because it's got Fredoxy on it. And it's weird to think how this time last year we had Fredoxy not even making it out of the last chance qualifiers with Trippin, his duo tonight, and with Thomas, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it's scary. Again, we're having these sort of same teams that are playing through these last chance majors, last chance qualifiers, in the same situation. It's major one. And unfortunately for Fredoxy, we just spoke about Vanya having a good experience with it. Unfortunately for Fredoxy, not a great experience, not qualifying through that one, but then went on to have a really great rest of the year when he switched things up. And I think ultimately that's really what we're going to have to angle our thoughts here, Levin, because for Fredoxy and for Trippin, they haven't necessarily been putting up the results that we'd expect from players of this caliber.
Yeah, not at all. And look, I have one rule about duos in Fortnite, and that's I don't think you should ever go back to your old duo partner. I think once you've crossed that line and decide let's go our separate ways, you're gonna keep it that way. Unfortunately, the hunger, the desperation for people to make it to the last chance lobby has players like Fredoxy and Trippin going, well, look, we've had some success in the past. Let's just try and run it back and find something. And so hopefully, you know, that they prove me wrong and that, you know, you can go back to your old partner and things still work out.
Well, there's other Xers getting back together left, right and centre because Valter and Mixon have also decided to get back together. And these guys, I mean, their history dates back to Chapter 3, way back to 2022, Levin. So it's no wonder if they want to qualify with anyone, you might as well go back to what you know.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't surprise me again that these two probably have looked at each other and gone, hey man, we used to have some real good times. Like, you know, we used to really make things work with it.
Yeah, it's true, and it sort of reminds me, if anyone sort of follows football and knows about football, it's like when a football team goes back to their old manager that they found so much success with years and years ago. Sometimes it works out, more often than not it doesn't, and maybe for this team they'll be finding that because a lot of their success did come from that sort of Chapter 3 era of Fortnite. I just think back to Blaha's recent success in trios when he was playing with Combeck and Shark in Major 3, but unfortunately the success didn't quite happen in the last chance qualifier where they got second place in every single one of those games, so hopefully he won't be thinking about that today.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with these guys that I learned over the course of actually this weekend is when we were commentating E2, there was a point during one of the games where, like I mentioned, how, you know, I miss some of the old duos who used to always be together, players you associate with each other. And Taco, while we were commentating, was like, yeah, like think back to like Mixon and Blaha, and I was sort of a bit like, oh, okay, that's a bit random. Lo and behold, she just spoke that duo back into existence because then 2 days later, they decide to get back together. So Taco, she clearly saw something in the Fortnite future that I wasn't seeing. I don't get it. What did she see?
We can't be talking behind Taco's back now. I think we should let her speak for herself because she's with Takata.
Sure.
Listen, guys, I was not anticipating Blaha Mixon to end up as a bit of a premonition there during that Heats 2 cast, but these shakeups take place one more time, only this time Blaha and Mixon, again like Minnie kind of alluded to, trying to avoid what took place in that last chance qualifier that Blaha recently participated in, and they want to find a win here today. They've got Giannis helping them with coaching, and then on the emotional and mental side, always Poppy, a great effort there to help them, I think, overcome those kinds of obstacles. But who's a team that you're kind of keeping an eye out for, Takata?
Look, I'm looking at Fadil and Vampy. Back in 2024, Fadil was playing with Reason. They were arguably the best duo. They've got 7th, 4th, 5th in the major finals. They tried again when the season started, but Fadil and Reason didn't quite work out. Since then, Fadil has been switching up duos left and right, but he's finally landed on Vampy in this last appearances versus 0. We've got an EU legend playing with rising talent, so I'm hoping that they can make it happen.
Only time will tell, but for right now, we'll go ahead and get it back over to Frankie, Levin, and Minnie to see what else they've got for us.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's take a look at the lobby list because we have got so many duos who really want to make it all the way to Dusseldorf, and they can't if they don't get through tonight. Let's head over to page 2. And you know why I want to head to page 2, Levin? It's because you'll see in the top left corner, it's Pink and Sato. I haven't had a chance to talk about these guys in FNCS this year yet, and I am slightly worried because I don't associate Pink with Victory Royale. Chance qualifier before 11. So am I wrong to have hope?
No, I don't think you are wrong, right? I think you'd have to say that when it comes to talent, these are two of the most talented players in this lobby. The expectations will be on them to get one of the wins upon these 5 games. But it's been a rough journey for the both of them, right? I think you look at both players' stories over the past year and a half, Minnie, and it's been about trying to maybe regain some of their previous best form. These are both players who we used to see qualify for LAN events, right? We've seen them both playing at these big events in the past, and for a year or so, it just feels like they've both fallen short at every single opportunity. To fall short at this last hurdle, Minnie, would be a devastating blow to their careers.
Yeah, they need that redemption, don't they? That's ultimately what it is about these guys. I mean, they had a bit of a rough heat as well. I remember Shark and Teeny just sort of W-keying everyone. They were definitely a target for them as well, so they didn't try and sort of third-party them in Grands. They successfully did that. Shark and Teeny prevented them from qualifying straight through there. But like you mentioned, this is a team that maybe you don't expect to win too many games, but they are a team that just have so much firepower, so much ability underneath. You just need to sort of uncover that today and really find their form, because they've got 5 games to do it whilst at their drop spot that they know so well. You expect them surely to get a win today.
Well, all eyes will be on these two, at least on the desk, and all eyes will be on this other duo, at least my own will be, Seti and Rax, because I put the Frankie Ward guarantee on these guys.
How did that go for you?
Heat 2, that one's being confined to a dark corner of my mind that will never be opened. Again, it's called trauma. But these guys, they came 35th. I should say, sorry, in Heat 2. It was just a mess, Mini Minor, and I'm just wondering, was it communications issue? Because obviously these guys are different teams. I'm not really sure. What would you put it down to?
I mean, it's just more of the same of what they've been doing all season, really. It wasn't necessarily that surprising that they didn't perform. They were taking too much damage, of course, with that new surge. They're not able to, you shouldn't be able to do that. That's not really going to work out in terms of how things are going to go. And they just kept going down in the mid-game level. They had like 20 seconds, 23rds non-stop, quite just mid overall, which is surprising when you look at someone like Seti.
Look, we already have to watch a major final without Mustache, without Queasy, without Trulix and Chicho, without Tayson, without Mr. Savage. If we have to watch a final and add Seti to that list of EU legends who just won't be there, pack it up. I'm done. I'm out of it. Because it's just, it'll be too much for me to handle again. It just feels like all of these guys who we've grown up, loving and watching and seeing them find success here in EU have had their fair share of struggles. I'm starting to get tired of it, It's starting to get a bit emotional for me, really. So it's hard to talk about. I really hope they make it. I haven't been filled with much confidence, but I hope they find a way to them.
I'd like to just reassure members of the Fortnite family that Levin is contractually obliged to remain part of the broadcast team. He's not allowed to throw a paddy and walk off camera, at least not for the rest of the season.
Ship me to NA.
We've got another duo we should talk about because they have a few FNCS Grand Finals under their belt. Kind of young German guns who obviously have extra motivation. They want to play in front of their home crowd in Dusseldorf, Levin, but can they make it?
Well, yeah, look, I think in the case of Total, right, we'll run the young gimmick, and Sheets, I think as well. Again, there's some experience there. The big thing with these guys, Minnie, that I think is in their favor is that they are going to be sort of landed north of Wonkyland, right, at the mountain split, which we've seen a bunch of teams across different regions have a lot of success with. And on top of that, right, we've actually seen, or at least on social media, it looks like Flixie is going to be coaching them and helping them, right, today. So they have the machine behind them, all the help they could possibly need. They have a bunch of experience as well. You've got to think they've got a good chance of making it happen today.
Yeah, let's just hope Flixie doesn't help them qualify to Grands and then they con them when it comes to Grand Finals. That wouldn't be great, would it? But no, you're right. They are getting coached by Flixie today. And I feel like this is a team that sort of is like the almost team, the nearly, the potential team. They've got so much of it. And of course, as you mentioned, Frankie, they have all of that motivation to want to make it to the Major One Summit, but they haven't been putting in those big performances that we know that they can do. Unfortunately for Heats, I think it was game one, Chiefs did have a couple of technical difficulties with his monitor or something, so I saw that on socials as well. So maybe you could put it down to that, and they're going to bring fireworks today. Hopefully for them, we will see them there get a win.
You know what, guys? Firstly, they're all young guns. It's Fortnite. But secondly, I think you guys are sleeping on the French. I think you're sleeping on Asa and Podosai. I think they're going to get Victory Royale. And I'm not writing that on a post-it note. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just saying what I think so I don't jinx and make all of the French fans unhappy with me. But I think this is an educated guess, Levin.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, look.
Okay,
we all came for the Frankie Ward analysis at the end of the day. So take the floor. Take the floor.
They actually had a pretty convincing performance in the heats. Only just landed outside of the qualification zone. They have form in last chance qualifiers. They have picked up Victory Royale before. They picked up 2, I believe, in the Opens last night. They perform under pressure, and they've got more experience than a lot of the Duos competing tonight. Mini Minor, I can see that finger of disagreement.
Can I just say, Podosai, you know, very experienced player. When's that ever gone wrong in EU this season, pairing an experienced player with the lesser experienced player? I mean, it's never gone wrong, right? So I'm sure they'll qualify.
Alayla French. Right, let's head over to Taco and Takata because we're going to be sending someone through to the grand finals after game 1.
We get it, Frankie. You love gentlemates, and don't we all? Because at the end of the day, Takata, we know that this first Summit LAN taking place in Dusseldorf, every single one of these teams would love to have their opportunity to try and make it for that top 20 section of the Major 1 Finals leaderboard, and we get to see now who's going to be the first of 5 here in Game 1.
I'm excited. A lot of big names, even contesting each other off spawn. Wonky Land, Tripper for Doxy against Wheat Nefrizzi. We even got Pink Sato by there. Heat 1, they kind of dipped their toes in the wrong pond, but hopefully this time around they can make something happen, Taco.
Would almost expect it to be a slightly different narrative here today, though, for Pink and Sato, because with Tripper and Prodoxy, Wheat and Nefrizzi kind of distracting each other, you would imagine that would permit Pink Sato to maybe have a more optimal surge strategy, just because they might just be able to get some free tags inwards. But Vanya, all smooth sailing for the time being, and it's just about whether or not they're going to be able to try and find some additional damage. Good shots coming out of Vanya already onto Monkey and Sakei, and they are so incredibly low as is, but not willing to overcommit just yet, kind of still taking their time. They might be able to just get these shots completely clean from distance.
Yeah, huge mix-up on the drop there. Change in positions now, though. Down to Battlewood Boulevard. This is a very popular spot. Issue with this is if you don't finish the fights up quickly, the third parties do tend to come through, so hopefully Awaken can make something happen here.
It might be a little bit tough for Artie and Ricky being contested on that south side of Battlewood Boulevard by JSN and Scozer. Things could get complicated, as you already mentioned. Takata, it's Avala and Jake Buka kind of controlling more of that north side position. So for these two teams, just going to really have to check their corners, because at the end of the day, it's not about consistency any longer, right? The desk already kind of highlighted it. You need a win to secure your seat on the battle bus for the Major 1 Grand Finals, and that's the case, is that some teams might just go for high risk, high reward options if they think that it'll net them an opportunity to find that victory royale.
Yeah, 5 matches, 5 winners. Podosai and Asai, they got 20th in the last heat. Best placement was 3rd. So they're able to make those end games, but they're going to be a bit more difficult playing for the win here when everybody knows it's the only way to get that golden ticket to the major finals.
Sorry for the pin check. Sandy strip. And there's a certain kind of lull in, I think, the action. These first couple of games, Takata, it's really everyone trying to find their footing, find their own, keeping your wits about you, because there is just a lot of nerve to try and settle in these competitions.
That there is. Looking at Vidil and Vampy, we've seen a lot of EU legends playing with new rising talent. Queasy was saying on socials the other day, the current meta, it seems like the most successful ones are these kind of double fragger or double IGL duos. You predicted the future with Baja Mix and Taco. I wonder if you can predict the future with the Game 1 winners, but we're going to hold on that because it looks like we've got a quick engagement.
And for Vanya's future, he's going to have to hope that Ping is able to hold things through here. A fast elimination from Monkey, and now Sakei trying to close in onto Ping. the space claim, but Ping, 1 versus 2, it's never optimal, especially with such low material count. He's trying to see if he can get a pump shot around the corner, does connect. That is going to cause a slight delay. The fact of the matter is, they've got pizza slices. Monkey CK just continuing to close in, harping down on Ping's position, and it feels like we're just drawing out the inevitable here. Sure enough, CK and Monkey from 2 separate angles are going to be able to close this one up, and Latte Landing now has shifted entirely into Monkey and CK's control, but that is up until Valter and Jax might decide to linger on over.
I'm trying to think to myself how this ended up happening. I mean, Banya walks, superior drop, early tags off the drop, and somehow CK and REX still ended up closing that engagement. Issue is now they've got teams all in the surroundings holding them. Good news is they do have a super pad that they could potentially use to rotate in later.
History has a way of repeating itself at times, though. Teams looking for comfort and familiarity. Blaha Mixon certainly following that trend right now, but Minnie already touched on it. 3 second places for Duos is always a different landscape, but with 5 lobbies here, I'm thinking there might be a win in their future, Takada, and I know if I'm in Blaha's position, I definitely want it sooner rather than later. It just becomes very difficult, I think, to overcome that mental battle. But again, I do think that it speaks dividends having somebody like community members like Always Poppy on your side to help kind of figure out how to navigate those sort of feelings.
Taking a look back at Battlewood Boulevard, trying to see if this engagement turned into a disengagement and no one actually ended up going through with it. But for 9 and Moneymaker, this is an interesting one. I remember Moneymaker being one of the talk of the town, very quick to rise up. Unfortunately, recent performances haven't really matched that initial boom, so I'm hoping that with this last chance qualifier, if they can make it through, can start rising up again.
Been a decent amount of rumblings too from Fortnite streets on the EU side, Takada. A lot of people maybe having expectations of F9 and Moneymaker punching their ticket through this last chance qualifier, the Major 1 Grand Finals, but Wonky Land certainly going to start delivering in action soon enough here. Seti and Rax. And one thing that has kind of haunted this team, especially Takada, is just micromanaging that net surge position. It haunted them all throughout their heats qualifiers, and so here today, what would you maybe expect to see them do differently to try and overcome those battles?
The thing with last chance matches is you can't play shambles. You have to win the match. You can't scrape your way through in terms of consistency. And I mean, Seti Kami back in the day, they were all about that consistency. Now it's all about that win. So I'm looking to see them play more confidently and set themselves up more for success in those end games, despite there being more risk to it.
Be interesting to see how they maintain as the match continues to progress. Harko and Kire trying to make sure that they've got enough space flame to keep sort of pushing some of these other duos. Center, it's looking to be 4 other teams potentially dogpiling the position there. Blaha Mixon, one of them. But Zarvin Finchek, a duo, choosing to commit a little bit more time inside of the storm. Fair enough. They've got plenty of deals to work with.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because from the change from last season, this chapter, to this season, there has been less storm play, there's less mobility. Now there are some drop spots that can allow you to kind of play a bit more in the storm, if you can use the POI to rotate yourself through. But another thing is just net surge, Taco, aggression in general. It's a lot more risky. Even if you have that confidence, it just might not be worth it sometimes.
Seems like both of those teams with Field, Dampy, and the likes, they're just kind of waiting for some late party stragglers, see if they can continue just building up on their own net surge to try and prevent any sort of those endgame woes that we've seen time and time again really be the #1 limiting factor in terms of how far a team is actually able to go, because if you find yourself underneath that threshold, you just experience so much desperation, and it's just so obvious to the rest of the lobby too. You also miss out on so many rotational opportunities because you're having to prioritize just getting your shots in, and then those teams that you were just shooting at, if they rotate before you and you weren't able to knock or eliminate them, they just look back and immediately return the favor. So a lot of implications, I think, from teams that just miss out during these early to mid-game moments, finding those tags along the way.
And it's crucial to set yourself up in those later moments. I mean, with this net surge and less mobility, the dead side is much more prominent than we've seen previously. So if you can set yourself up for success in those end games, it can really pay off, especially if you get a couple lucky zones. But always got to mitigate the risk in Fortnite.
3 pizzas, though, for Hallie and Lusha as a duo. Flowberry and Miss Grenades, they won't have any problems for the foreseeable future figuring out if they want to play for more of a dead side position with that amount of heals. Takata, obviously you want to reserve as many as possible, but also seems like they're trying to potentially keep other duos at bay nearby. But Seti,
oh no,
hate to see it. Disaster has seemingly struck, though. Fairly low on the material counts too, especially when you factor in that he might have to tackle the endeavor of dealing with Hugo, and Jux is just behind him. But it just makes it so difficult for Seti playing as a solo.
How confident are you with Seti and Rax this season? I mean, we've seen EU legends qualify to the major finals with new talent. We have Thomas and Focus. Who do you think Seti and Rax are one that's capable of making it happen?
If I'm basing it off of this season's results, then realistically I think it becomes very difficult to want to include them in a 5-winner lobby type of format. But the hard side of EU is knowing just how many historic members already missed out, and Seti will unfortunately have to take his chances in lobby 2 and onwards. Jux's and Hugo, a little bit more of a lurk opportunity there. They're just able to cut Seti off, but yeah, Takata, it's just difficult. You don't want to see EU legends miss out, because that's just who you've always grown and loved to see in these types of tournaments, but it is a new era that has clearly begun to surface and break through.
Really is. I'm super curious to what it's going to look like in the major finals. We saw how it affected Levin earlier. All these legends not making it. We looked at the list of the big names that haven't qualified. It looks like it was a major finals list. I mean, global champions, 2 of them coming into this season didn't qualify. It's looking tough for EU, but I don't mind seeing rising talent, Taco. Good to see.
Hardy and Ricky just trying to push back the core. Only 94 above, though, so makes total sense why they're trying to take small opportunities wherever they might put themselves into view. Chris Buka and NXC, on the other hand, also another duo kind of struggling with that surge threshold.
Good news for them. Zone's filled quite close. So if they're able to get a bit of tags here, they can hopefully set themselves up.
This is a duo that I think a lot of fans in EU are also kind of hoping to see break through here today. And knowing as well that what awaits them, even if they do make it through Takata, they're still going to potentially have to revamp their actual in-game strategies. Although I think Pink is a very dependable IGL in that sense, it's just tough because the Shark's already given them a little taste of medicine, what to anticipate should they actually qual from Frozen Shard.
Today, we saw Heat 1 didn't quite go their way, but with the way the lobby's playing out, in this last chance qualifier, I think they do have more than enough firepower to get that win. It is just so difficult.
Things are starting to get a little spooky here, though, just outside the north end of Battlewood Boulevard, the way that the zone is pooling. Anytime you've got zones that kind of cross over decent bodies of water, it burns through everybody's material count. And there is just enough awkward elevation shifts in this area that can make it very difficult to traverse in the first place. So for teams just trying to find some of the more of those like isolated positions, like where we Frizzy were at, for example, and making sure that they can just stay ahead of the pack here. Asa, Podesai, Eon for right now, 62 above. So many teams, though, we're starting to see some of those restrictions kind of being imposed on their options here. 175 below right now for Spooka and XC. They've got to make a decision here. They need to commit to finding some damage. They can't get it from a distance. They're gonna have will resort to just trying to wait it out, hope that it ticks off before they lose every single one of their shield recovery options. But for Spooka and XZ, it doesn't seem like the lobby is really easing up in that sense.
Yeah, this is the last chance qualifier, Taco. You can't kind of scrape your way through. I was highlighting it earlier. You need to make those power plays to fully set yourself up in the later zones. You need to have enough mobility. You need to have enough shields, enough mats. And if you're not aggressively going for that and just scraping your way zone to zone, I don't see a very high chance of you winning the match.
Shields now both fully cracked for Chris, Spooka, and XZ. They've also got another duo. Their options are really just to dive right in, and they're just not going to get a chance. The lobby will clear them out before they even get a chance to land off that overdrive grenade. But taking a gander from the drone shot overview, Gonzo and Truly, rather, I think, exciting team heading into today. I mean, they had 4 victory royales during the last chance qualifier opens. All they've got to do is manifest 1 here today in 5 matches.
Predicted the future with Baja Mix and Taco. You're going to predict it here? You think they're winning game 1?
I don't think anything's guaranteed in the last chance qualifiers, unfortunately. Even with the heat circumstances, we saw so many different instances of duos that looked like they were prepared to win it all, and then last second, you know, the blood kind of just gets pulled from underneath them, and you can already see the issues building, right? Like, no one is capable of outlasting these surge ticks. That pressure with the lobby as well. Pink, Sato, Disaster just continuing to strike. He'll drop straight into the hands of Julian Miros. We're more than content to take that little bit of siphon material with them, but hard skill, no Sif. Mixin, Blaha, just 1 tier up ahead. So many teams getting pulled into congestion.
Yeah, I mean, Pink Sato, they were playing in zone for such a long time. They didn't have those options to get tags. Blaha Mixin, on the other hand, well above 324. Great opportunity now to focus more on positioning instead of those tags. Set themselves up for this potential tough zone as you see it starting to go up this hill.
Doing a great job right now, though, at elevating. They've already managed to tackle front side. It's only Kilba and Govao that stand to pose any sort of threat for them. They're just looking back, spraying, controlling, preventing anyone from challenging them off secondary height. But we've already seen just how vicious this meta can be with the flow rate mist grenades and overdrive grenade combination. But Podesai's options very limited. Only 1 overdrive grenade. Moneymaker and F9 trying to make it happen. Slightly lower set on this hill face, but still able to control a decent amount of space here. Just waiting for the opportunity to really open up for a big free fire edit, or potentially even drop somebody into their box that runs over ahead. You never know what's coming next.
Free edits are going to be your friend in this last chance. You need to get those refreshes quickly, and Podesai SI know that, Taco. But the issue is the connections, the big pumps. It's right onto his teammate. Podesai's left alone.
Even with this Chug Jug fear, he is only delaying the inevitable right now, Takata. He's just so hurt. 287 below, just trying to use the remnants of the Chug Jug to heal things out for a couple moments longer. He has to find an immediate shot, and he has to get it now. He doesn't have any time to even think. Zarb just ahead of him, but he can't break through the box just yet. Zarb's gonna get a move out forward. 246 below still. Podesai scrambling, siphoning off somebody else's flowberry mist grenade, but will manage to elevate himself 1 layer up. Surge has ticked off for the time being. He's got so many healthy players surrounding him. He's gonna need a lot of help to make it through.
such a long way to go. He's positioned himself in the clouds. He's connecting the shots needed to put him out of shields. He's running low on mats. All he's got is wood. He's crouched rocking above, and if one duo looks at him, I think they're gonna take that chance to take the fight.
On the bright side, though, this is a last chance qualifier finals. It's a little bit of a different scene here. Otisai getting away with those wood builds on height. No one having a chance to hook up just yet. The mid tiers are just so congested. I mean, Mix and Blaha, though, looking to try and break their own way through. Might be able to flash into some hurt players. Go just a little bit too far ahead, but Blaha loses Mixon. Conversion not necessarily worth it here for that elimination. He'll be forced to use his pizza a little bit early. Can still out-heal some bits of the storm, but Koda's side, he is still scrambling forward, banking on himself. 2 builds left. He either finds an elimination or his run is over.
How is he still going? Okay, cut me off there. Back to the lobby as we switch over to For9 Moneymaker. Still down below, looking strong, but Blaha now, as a solo, it's up to him to make it happen.
But with the way that front side is sort of building up, Gonzo, truly, they might have the opportunity to control it. They're starting to clash with some of these teams directly in front of them. Blaha still, as a solo, way down ultimate low, but backside of zone, he knows that there's going to be players boxed in front of them. So many builds, he has to try and pickaxe his way through. Out of sight, out of mind for the time being, but Zarb, Fincheck on the high ground. Blaha ruins it, though. Full elimination onto Zarb. He needs to get the siphon from it, though, and he won't be able to find it. Still, I don't think he's going to have the chance. He might be able to pull off this revive, though, and that would lead them in the best-case scenario for closing this one out.
Looks like he's going for it. I hope they have some heals to get back into the storm. It's the perfect chance for a player down below to go for that high ground retake now. Looking like Gonzo is trying to make something happen. Shots coming from above, but he falls all the way down. It's Vexy in the clouds, connecting shot after shot. He picks up Zarb.
Vexy and SnozQ saw their opportunity. Everyone with the same sort of mentality. Height just keeps playing switcheroo all day long. Lucia and Hallie are now going to be the ones claiming overhead, but they'll be forced to drop. Lusha doesn't actually have any kind of way to get down. The fall damage is going to spoil it for him. Instead, we, Nefrizi, now is their time to strike. Will they be the last duo standing on height as the zone continues to pull over this cliff face? But Gonzo, truly incredibly healthy, but they need to find more materials. Truly even trying to farm out what he can. He knows that there's still one team up on height, but that elimination onto Hallie, the dust is starting to settle here. Nefrizi and Wheat, they see the Flowberry Mist Grenade cloud. They know that there's a duo potentially waiting to challenge. Gonzo goes up. Gonzo finds some great shots here, but Wheat still with the cutoff, trying to see if he can stop him from finishing off both of him and his duo. Nefrizi, Wheat, Vito as a solo. He's got no business being left over here, but everybody seems to be too distracted by the 2v2 up top. Wheat and the Frizzy have been forced to drop now. Gonzo, truly, they just need to connect, and truly, Gonzo have sent it. The last chance qualifier opens might have been the best kind of foreshadowing because they found their victory royale.
It's looking electric in the last chance qualifier, almost like a bouncy castle. Flow miss is just non-stop retakes on the high ground, but Gonzo and Truly are going to be the duo that closed it out and the first ones to qualify today to the major finals. We got to go back to the desk so they can break it down for us.
I think you just broke it down there, Takar. It was a bouncy castle, Levin.
I mean, the real interesting thing for me when it came to Truly and the last chance lobby was he obviously been playing with Zynox and they've been really impressive, and when they stumbled in the heat and decided to split, I think there were a lot of question marks, right? It's like, back yourself, believe in yourself, you guys have looked good. He decided to play with Gonzo, a player who many have been very impressed with when he was playing with Pradaj for a lot of the first season of this year, and to see them come through in this lobby and have that type of win fills me with confidence for the future of this team this weekend. This isn't just a team to me who's just gonna, sneak into the finals and that's it. They really can upset and surprise some people because all the talent's there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people were kind of looking forward to seeing what Truly and Zynox were going to do in those heats. So lots of eyes were on them as sort of like an upcoming team. I think they made every single divisional cut, right? So it was one of those where it's like, yeah, they kind of fell a little bit short, but surely they'll come back. And now it's really nice to see Truly actually picking up and continuing that, because I feel like it can be so easy to lose a lot of that momentum if you are to switch up your teammate. The way they went about this win, though, was really, really nice. They took height at a good moment. I think they got a little bit fortunate. I think it was Lucia that went down to full damage somehow. I don't know what happened there. We'll see. Well, I'm sure we'll see that in a sec. But yeah, the way they held it was perfect. And it was a really weird endgame because it felt like nobody was on height up until that sort of 11th, 12th zone transition. And then everyone decided to go for it at once. So very entertaining and very happy for those guys.
Yeah, it was an incredibly entertaining endgame. And we'll have more coming up for you soon about the other duos. Who is still in this lobby and who's going to be trying to go for game number 2. We'll see you in a few.
Me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Welcome back to the Last Chance lobby, where we've got to talk about what happened. Teams here tonight, if you've just joined, if you've never seen the Last Chance lobby before, are only competing for victory royales. That's the only way they can get to the grand final. Levin, you're nodding and truly on point tonight. So we're seeing a different way of playing the game compared to the heats, because no one is trying to compete for consistency here. No one is playing it safe. And to be honest, Levin, I'm loving it.
Yeah, it was a weird first game though, because I think when you describe it how you described it, Frankie, what you expect to see is just the non-stop height takes, and we got there, right? We got there eventually, but as far as like establishing early height, there was none of it, right? We had the weakest height hold of all time in Fortnite history in Podesai, who was single ramping with wood builds and just nothing else, like as literally building height with twigs. And then, you know, again, people just were like on second height, but they weren't really looking up. It was only until Mini, like you said, it was like the 11th to 12th zone transition where then everyone was like, okay, we need to win the game, send it up on height. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the games stay like that, right? Are people just like, nah, we have nothing to do, you know, as far as holding height earlier on. Let's just save everything we have until as late as possible.
Yeah, there's just no point really holding it early on because you're not playing for those placement points. We saw so much success for teams in the heats that actually managed to find those refreshes and then go for height at the end of the game. That's the teams that ended up winning the game. So like when that's all that matters, it's like save those materials, save those resources, save those flow berries and those shockwave grenades or the overdrive grenades to then go for height later on. And everyone decided to make that decision at the same time. So that's going to be the key point to look out for in today's games is at that point, who's going for it, who's finding success and who's not going down to full damage.
I have never wanted to do a post-game interview with a Fortnite player so bad as wanting to talk to Podesai and what was going through his mind in that moment. But let's talk about Blacker and Mix, though. They managed to make it to 13, so obviously not within clutching distance of getting the actual victory royale, which is what they need tonight.
Not too bad. I mean, we expect to see these guys in the end games. We expect to see them making it consistently. That's sort of part of their strategy in the more traditional formats when you do get the consistency. But I think it was Blaha at the end who was a solo. Did go for height as well at a moment here in 11, but didn't quite find too much success with it. But made a good effort.
I mean, yeah, I think Finchek and Zard will be frustrated with this effort, right? Because they really just ruined their chances in that game. It really felt like with some of the max pulls we were getting in the moving zones, just nobody even had much to work with at all, right? Even the teams who would have wanted to go for high late, it's like you have 5 builds and it's like, all right, well, shockwave up, man. Like, we just gotta make it work, hit the shots and figure it out later. So it was a tough game, I think, for anyone to really find their footing. So Black and Mixon, I think, will not be too upset with that first try.
I think Howley and Lucia will probably be a little bit upset because Lucia, he was eliminated by full damage. It was so close with these guys.
You hate to see it, you know, you hate to see it. I think when you're looking at names in this lobby, Mini, of who are the types of teams we expect to, you know, be aggressive height teams, right? Howley and Lucia definitely come to mind, right? And it was in the end, it was Nefrizi and Wheat who obviously came second place, who, you know, were the ones to take it off of them. Yeah, he won't want us to replay that, man. I've seen Lucia on height for many years in EU Mini. I've not seen him do that too much. So we'll just call it a one-off, a bit of a last chance lobby nerves, and we'll move on to the next.
He just jumped off. Like, I'm so confused by it, really. I mean, I don't know what he thought. You know, maybe just a bit of a rush of blood at the end. You popped the pizza, so maybe you thought the slap effect gave you full damage immunity, which obviously clearly it doesn't. Maybe you thought he had that flowberry effect. I'm not too sure. But the good thing about those guys is they're not afraid to go for it. They're in that position. They found themselves in that position. It's a very easy fix for them in the next game if they're looking for it again. So I wouldn't be too concerned about them yet.
Yeah, at least they found themselves in that position. Unlike Banya and Ping, Mini Miner, are you concerned for them after that first game?
A little bit. I mean, you know, we spoke about it at the beginning of the day, how these guys, you just sort of a shoe-in to win a game. We saw Vanya doing it previously. We saw the success of them in 2025. But then it was something that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. It's like, yeah, well, it hasn't really been going that great for a lot of our more experienced names, Levin. And this is not a great showing. If you can't win the off-spawn fight, you can't make it to endgame. And, you know, hopefully it's not going to affect them too much.
Yeah, if there is anybody in this lobby who could make an early height hold work, you would have to think it's Vanya, right? And so, you know, I'm sure he might have been watching that game thinking, oh, if we just hadn't have gone down off spawn, it would have been so free. Nobody was playing height. We would have had the strongest height build. Nobody would have been able to shockwave up. And so hopefully in their next off spawn, they can make things work out a bit better. That's the difficulty with being off spawn, being contested off spawn in this lobby. There's just not enough games to really let it happen.
Well, we've talked about end games, we've talked about the start of games, but now we need to talk about the mid game. I feel like this is a tech have been struggling with. It's no different for Pink and Soto 11. Seemed like they were fine on Surge, and then suddenly they weren't.
A big concern for me, because these guys obviously had their struggles with Surge in the heats, and I think a lot of us chalked it up to, you know, there was some shenanigans with their off-spawn situation as far as like some of the teams around them and being aggressive and not sort of giving them the space to want to play their game. And so if they're going to keep struggling like this, yeah, Minnie, it's the window of the opportunity here is quickly closing on them. They really have to find solutions quickly.
This new surge is tough. When you're scrambling for damage, when you used to be scrambling for damage, it didn't really matter how much damage you were taking from other teams because it didn't affect it. Now it affects it, so it makes it so much more difficult.
Hopefully, this is something that the guys can work out as they move forward. Same for all the teams. I want to see as many teams in the end game as possible. I just want to see everyone bouncy castling yet again for that victory royale. We've got 4 more games. That means 4 more duos will find their spots tonight in the grand final. If you don't get to the grand final, you've got no chance of making it to the Major 1 Summit in Dusseldorf. So let's head into game number 2.
Thank you, Frankie. You said it best. 4 more matches leaves a lot of opportunity for these teams to change up what might not have worked in the first match. I'm curious to what's going on up north. Turtle Chiefs actually went down 49th. They are on con, kind of that north split above Wonky, getting coached by Flixie. I mean, we had 2 German players qualify through heats through VRs, and I'm hoping they can be the third and last chance. We don't have to wait long. Game 2 is ready.
It's tough, right, Takata? I mean, you've got a strategy, you've done your off-spawn practice, you've done the homework necessary to try and gauge what's going to be my recipe for success here, but the game just doesn't always play out the way that you envisioned. And so for some of these duos, they're just looking to remedy some of those first game woes. For REX and Takei, it starts with an immediate challenge against Vanya and King. The outright 50-50, but it looks like King was quicker on the punch. Vanya, though, not going to be able to find those closing shots just yet. Incredibly low assault rifle versus what I believe is a pistol there for Vanya, but he's not going to be able to pull through. He does eventually get knocked. Now it's up to King, and he's just not going to have enough gas left in the tank here. Another wipeout off spawn in Latte, and it seems like REX and Takei are really starting to build some momentum here.
A tragic start. The good news is you don't need points, you need wins. So another duo that I'd love to see do it is Tripper and Fredoxy. Hasn't quite lived up to the expectations coming from the performance in 2025 trios, Fredoxy being one of the leading trios. The issue is now, you know, I don't know, there's a lot of memes going online on socials. I'm hoping that Fredoxy can qualify and show us what he's truly capable of.
Look, all I'm going to say on that, Takata, is Tripper was low-key fly in yesterday's Last Chance Qualifier Opens. If you can just bring forth some of that energy here today, you never know. Even with them being all-spawn contested by Wheaton and Frizzy, stuff can always find a way to go your way if you make it so. A lot of action, though. Wheaton is busy dealing with setting racks at Humble Hills. Looks like they decided to go for a slightly different scenery here. The immediate challenge against Seti and Rax, so it's not actually going to be wonky land for them. It's still beneficial, though, for Seti and Rax that they actually survived that off-spawn and went out.
Interesting. Thinking back on the Seti Rax, I mean, the Frizzy Wheat were second place in the last match, and if you think of Seti, you don't think of being a very strong off-spawn player, but now with that firepower from Rax, it looks like in these last-minute switch-ups, they're capable of still staying on top.
Well, you have to remember, though, Levin kind of called it on the desk. Seti and Rax have been practicing their off-spawns leading into today, right? You can never pretend like the minimap is always going to stay the same. And so it looks like all that practice actually came to fruition, at least in this lobby, because it buys them that little bit of extra time here.
Tell the pressure is on here. It is that last chance to make something happen. Being contested. Quibbly Shores going through the strategies, kind of infinite fishing hole here. Get as many heals as possible. Make it to the end game, but for Hugo, he will get the knock.
That's a little bit too chaotic there. I'm adapted. Thought because he had the opening shots that it would actually go in his favor, but it is still difficult anytime you jump into another player's box. But Squibbly Shores is still not fully cleaned out. Zion and Trick. crouching all the way up. I mean, they're bound to have heard every single one of those audio cues. They know exactly where that little skirmish was taking place, and they want to see. Maybe this duo was a little bit too injured. Maybe they haven't had a chance to fully fish out and actually heal things back up here. But Hugo Jux is there, fully aware. They're not taking any sort of chances. They're making sure they stay closely knit to each other, just to play supportive measures wherever needed.
Making sure to stay careful. Regarding potential third parties too. Keeping the elevation, making sure you have a good vision as the double edit comes through, but you don't want to open it up into the 1v2. As from this, all I see are kind of back and forth. I don't know if we're going to see a full commit here.
What we are going to see is another duo start to kind of roll on by Squiggly Shores. Anytime you start to make a lot of commotion, you have other team's attention. And with the way that Zidon and Trix are just a little bit split enough for a third party, the third party to the third party, essentially intervene. You've always got to watch your steps, but it does seem like they are also fully aware of the fact that this one's just going to have to fizzle out.
Thinking back to last game with Pink and Sato, they stayed a long time inside the storm. They kind of had their base, made the Flowberry overdrive rotate very late. It caused them to get to zone without taking a lot of damage, but at the same time, it doesn't seem they could do enough either, as Storm Surge was truly what caused them to kind of go into shambles in those last moments and end up getting eliminated before the late game. So I'm hoping that we see a switch up here.
Part of that problem is just the fact that even though they've got this mountainside control, without that off spawn actually taking place in lobby 1 or 2, Pink Sato, they're kind of left to figure out other means for how they want to actually build up that net surge. Hopefully they're able to avoid having the same issues from game 1, but it's always going to be difficult because every single one of these teams, you have to remember, they know it's all about just finding the victory royale.
The Fortnite competitive is also all about adapting as quickly as possible, and in these last chance lobbies, even the heats lobbies, when players are qualifying through and no longer dropping, you can change up some of your strategies. Tripper scaring me a little here without any shield, but looks like they'll make it in.
Nice tags there from Prodoxy. This duo kind of just highlighting some of the rotational power behind the wonky land wheel. Would expect that that's the reason why we saw them so high up momentarily, and now this hillside control outside of Squiggly Shores. Fred really just doing what he can to scope out the area, make sure that if they are going to opt to try and play for more dead side rotations, if there are teams looking to avoid them, get away from them, Snosky and Vexy seems to be who they might have originally been tailing in the first place.
3-2-1 is all that it takes here. Alongside the shots being connected, we'll see if Tripper and Fred can make it happen. Couple tags, nothing enough to actually fully commit to the aggression. Goes now to playing these kind of bedsides, not only when they're more prominent, but with the net surge. I mean, before, when you make these rotates, you're losing a lot of opportunities to get those tags, but now it also means you're not getting tagged as much, hopefully, and even conserving materials on top of that. So I'm excited to see how this plays out once they actually do end up making it into the zone.
Get a chance to check back in with them for right now. Got to see what else is building. Goes there. Jason, Ricky. A little bit of a stalemate between these duos, but it could just be temporary. Both of them looking for the advantageous breakthrough. Jason trying to backpedal a bit here. A lot of box space claim, though. This is a whole lot of material being invested here right now, Takada, and if they're not able to get a conclusion soon, they might just find themselves being victims of a cleanup effect by a third party.
It's also kind of a late engagement here off the start. 20 builds on so many players. Awahalo and Jake Luca are the duo that land north of them, but I mean, they've already seem to be kind of long gone in this situation. But the longer they take, the more they're missing out on in terms of mats, in terms of positioning. Luckily enough, though, they have pulled a good zone for the time being, but they really just can't waste time.
Like that, both duos, though, just constantly trying to chip away at the other's HP. Good knock here. Profesh getting old. Gonna look to close in very quickly here now. The moment that you get that knock, you know this is a very weak team. We should be able to close it out for a double elimination process here. Let's just trying to see if we can escape. Kata, I fear that the delay, being this far inside of the storm, having to go for the reboot, having to reestablish your net surge, it just makes it all that more difficult to really bounce back in the same lobby.
Yeah, sometimes it just might not be worth it, especially if you're very far away from zone. Wouldn't be surprised if you see a disengage here. You just cannot let those tags come through, or all that progress you made from that elimination can quickly get taken away from you.
That is just last little bits of HP here. How many whites does he even have to work with? Seems like he found a couple of med kits at least, but that guy's just gonna dive right in, zero fear, and for good reason. I mean, again, it's just a 2 versus 1 Classico. They have more than enough time to just fully seal the deal on this one. They're going to need it because they are going to be approaching from that dead side of the zone. So the longer you spend inside a that you don't have to worry about being in an established position later on.
Fourth zone now. This is kind of a moment when you're already based up inside where you can't make big mistakes. If you end up fully committing to an engagement, you can see the amount of teams but in their surrounding area. You do not want to get the eyes on you, as focus can change very quickly in these types of zones. Mix and Baja. See if they can do it.
Like the material count, but not necessarily the pumps. Great pump is a little bit tough here. Still, wouldn't be surprised to see them convert that into an elimination or two and maybe just steal away somebody else's shotgun. But the main thing here, Takata, is that knowing that this format is based around victory royales, I do believe that as the matches progress, we are just going to see more and more stacked endgames because nobody wants to compromise themselves. It's almost like watching an evals tourney to an extent.
The issue is when more and more people want to get the endgame, Surge just gets more and more difficult, and like I've been mentioning again and again, you kind of have to do an all-or-nothing play in these last chance lobbies. You can't get yourself to the end game with no mats, no mobility, no shields. You need to have enough loot or enough confidence to look for those refreshes and set yourself up for those moving zones. But so far, I'm liking the quick rotate from SETI Rax. We saw what the firepower can do in the early game. Now let's see what that IGL'd mine can do in the late game.
I guess my thought process is more along the lines of if the end games are going to be incredibly stacked, though, then that just means that Surge is going to be a constant threat. There isn't really going to be much room for any of these duos because it is going to just shift so drastically, I think, especially in some of these in-game moments. Because everyone's trying to make sure that they're still alive when it comes down to the final moving zones.
And the issue when Surge is that prominent, as you're mentioning, you have to use more mats when you rotate. You can't let people tag you. And if you're running out of mats early, you need more in the end game. It's just more risky plays you have to take as the day goes on. But from Ferdoxy and Trip, prime position, dead center of the zone, 250 above. I'm loving the loadout. I got high hopes.
Definitely doing a great job keeping themselves concealed underneath this. Chaos, on the other hand, is quite literally stuck in a whole world of chaos. 563 below the entire lobby, just encroaching on his position on top of the fact he's got an immediate fight in front of him. But Brings out Mbappe. He's going to be able to pull through on this one. Jax with that pizza and 550 above. They'll be able to try and heal back up, but Lovera more interested in just seizing the opportunity instead. Rinzi and Xenox, though. Ooh, I'm so sorry, Xenox. That is an immediate. He might still be able to bring this one back. Losing his duo, though, at such a crucial moment. And still 129 below. And I was really excited personally, Takada, looking in on this lobby. But there's just too many obstacles in front of them, and Rinzi off to hedge his bets on the next lobby.
Curious to where this zone's pulling. It's not looking as much as a change in elevation as the previous one. It's going to push east side of Battlewood. All these players now that have already been boxed up on this zone pull can have the freedom to rain down shots on all the duos that have to rotate in as that storm surge is ticking. It's the prime position to get those tags if you need them.
And we saw how volatile height control was in game one, but we also saw a brief instance, you know, where Podesai was actually able to slide through unnoticed. So it is obvious that there are definitely a lot of distraction factors whenever we start pulling away into these endgame moments.
What's interesting is the most height retakes did happen at that final moving zone. I mean, Podesai was just kind of snaking up in the earlier movings, but once the players realized this is the time we have to take it, all at once, everyone started going. Right when they saw the aggression come through, when the battle for height begun, they said, it's my chance to third party it, fourth party it, fifth party it. Everybody wants a piece of it.
Seti and Rax. A little bit of trouble there on the rotate. Started making their way forward off the overside grenades. Seti brought down with a lot of his HP, so he'll have to take a moment to recuperate the damage done. Chiefs and Turtle, though. This is quite the journey for them from that far northern position of the map over by Storm Station. Now trying to head deep southeast, and it is definitely taking its toll. 19 below still on Surge. Chiefs trying to see if he can get some shots in, but it is a very healthy Tripper and Ferdoxy, and he might have just exposed himself to the fact that he is a solo player. A little bit more preoccupied with just trying to maintain strong positioning, so they'll let it go for the time being, but this is a rough spot for Chiefs to be in.
Good news is I do see a lot of builds, a lot of potential environmental coverage to the zone, so I do think he should maybe be able to sneak his way through. It is going to be difficult, though.
Hey, no better outcome, though, than finding
True.
practically max materials inside the storm. Even the Chug Jug buying him a little bit of time. Gonna let the lobby try to thin itself out, and then he'll make a play backside his zone, but Lucia just trying to make amends for what happened in lobby number one, but he'll have to do it by himself. Siphon does come through onto Gilba, but Lusha still not able to get enough HP. Rickford just gonna shut that one down. Chiefs is a solo though, has managed to make it in. The mobility is incredibly limited here with those gloves. He is going to be super exposed and just has to pick the right timing.
Just that 99% chance. Or I mean, 1% chance, 99%. Big type of meme here for Chiefs. 81 above. As a solo, he got the mats. He barely made it in. As now the chaos unfolds, Rax and Seti still looking healthy in terms of damage, but they are going to need a refresh before this game ends.
Seti might be a little bit more interested in what's taking place above. Saw Ferdoxy and Tripper kind of navigating forward. But it's going to be Peshka who's actually one of the first to go up. Rax, Seti, slightly missing the mark here, but they're still in the mid-ground. Peshka going to look to connect here. And now, how long can they control it? Peshka does have a good amount of material to start out with, but it's still so difficult because you've got to keep your head on a swivel here. You have to anticipate all the teams around you. Nearly it's dropped one layer too low. Still a little bit of fall damage, but not enough to deter him just yet. They're still able to hold on to height.
Yep, Gold Peshka are going to be the ones up above. Fred and Tripper trying to apply as much pressure as possible on low. Not worried at all about high ground yet. If they want it, they're going to go for it later.
front side of zone is starting to get very messy here for Doxy Tripper and look like they might have some control. They're trying to see if they can cut off Vampy along the way, but he'll be able to regroup with Badil. Blaha and Mixon though, ultimate low. Nosif has fallen. Great shot there, gonna connect from Blaha, and he's still so concealed. No one's even realizing getting these pot shots off onto Tripper, and for Doxy, they'll elevate one more tier up from ultimate low. But Rax, Seti, just lurking in the background, waiting to see if they could seize the opportunity here. Pink and Sato have actually overthrown Height.
Issue is low on mats. 2 builds on Pink. He's about to run out. It's all wood. He's looking like Podesai in game 1. They need to find a refresh. Sato's down below, hunting for any scraps he can find, but the chop comes through. Sato's now something.
Secondary Height though seems to be rather easy for Rex and Seti. They're gonna look back now, try to see if they can pick off Asa. For Doxy Tripper, they've actually started pushing forward, and that's gonna be just one more elimination to add to Seti. They strike and shut down the Danish dreams here. Seti and Rex, there's been a lot of doubt surrounding them, and they're now looking to see if they can overcome all of it. Tripper as a solo left in the most difficult kind of position. He's going to try to send it to the type of Fanina Moneymaker. They'll have no sense about it, easily taking him out of the picture.
I'm sure more retakes are going to come through shortly. Moneymaker, though, knows he's going back to get that last bit of loot. Fadil is now left as a solo. Asa, second Height. Which is going to be the team that goes for it?
Oh my gosh. Asa's just by himself for right now. Podesai finally going to be able to join, but they're both sent hacking 2 different players on both of these teams. But it's going to be Podesai who gets knocked first, and F9 will land safely next to Moneymaker. They're just going to continue tarping overhead. Asa forced to try and play this one out all by his lonesome, and Moneymaker's reign right now on the high ground. It doesn't look like anyone else is going to have a real opportunity to try and challenge this, because the lower layers have just been eating themselves alive right now, Takata.
The deal with 6. He's hungry for more. We do have a full duo still up and running. They need to make something happen here. They have the numbers advantage. CK down below as well, making sure to stay ahead. Moneymaker for 9. It looks like Height is all theirs. All that's on their mind now is how are they going to be able to close this out? The engagement's going to come through down below. The moment to strike might be here.
But Deal needed that refresh. The material count now actually heavily in his favor. CK, RDX, they also managed to find a refresh of materials, but it's just CK. RDX has been taken out. He's trying to do what he can to try and push back, but the Deal with the overdrive grenade is going to choose to use them on the high ground team. 2 pizza slices left to his name, but for 9, Moneymaker, they hold strong. They are still spraying down at these lower layers, but Badil burning through these last little bits of material, trying to see if he can scurry away using this Glowberry Mist Grenade to conceal himself. Big shot to connect on the replay, and that might just be enough. 2 versus 1 for Badil. He was getting fraggy in the opens. Can he do it one more time? But 9, incredibly low. Moneymaker trying to see if he can sink the shots. Get around. He's the one inside his zone. Nobody's got material. Badil needs the shots, but Moneymaker's able to close it out. Just can't shoot everywhere at once. Moneymaker and F9, welcome to the Major 1 Grand Finals.
I was starting to get nervous there in those final moments. Fadil looked like he had something that he was ready to show off, but Moneymaker and F9 are going to be the ones that finished winning game 2.
I'm still slightly speechless. I genuinely thought that Badil might take that one. And I even whispered, unfortunately, into the ears of the casters, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh my goodness. Because I thought he was going to do it. But I'm babbling because we should be saying congratulations to F9 and Moneymaker. A huge victory royale, looking solid when they were managing to take high and looking like they'll be a solid duo in the grand finals, Minnie.
Yeah, really excited for these guys. Really excited for those 1,000 Moneymaker fans out there. Of course, very popular name amongst the EU region. And super excited for these guys because, again, they sort of fall under that category of a team that have got back together. They've sort of been around the block together for so long. And I think I want to give a big highlight and big props here to Fnayan, who actually held down the height here 11 really well. Whilst Podo's side was sort of coming on up, and Moneymaker was going into the Storm to try and get that huge refresh that ultimately won them the game. Fnayan held really strong there. And I think that, combined with the refresh that Moneymaker was able to get, definitely won them this game.
Yeah, look, if you teleport back to 2 years ago when we had duos the main mode back then, Fnayan and Moneymaker were always a duo who you could always sort of bank on winning a game in eval cups, right? That was always their format where they shined, and people were always like, why doesn't it translate enough to FNCS? It just feels like is always going to be the thing that favors them. So it's good to see them pick up the win there. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they can translate this type of performance into the final. But all in all, a great day for any Moneymaker Fnayan fan.
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of fans out there. I'm so excited. Guys, Mini Miner, do you feel like the end games have shifted shape since the Heats?
Yeah, they definitely have. We sort of talked about it a little bit after the first game as well, how things have changed in terms of height. Height takes a lot later. In this particular game, it did seem like teams were trying to hold it a little bit earlier on. We saw Pink and Sato trying to hold it a little bit earlier on, but they ultimately run out of steam right there when they're trying to go for the refresh. So definitely things are shifting a little bit. Maybe we'll see a bit more frenziness in the later stage of the games, but very entertaining nevertheless.
Well, we've got 3 more entertaining games coming your way, so we'll take a short break and we'll be back.
Cut back too fast. Oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. And watch me get this gold. I just want it all. I just want it all.
If you've just joined us, you missed out on a one-man mission. We saw what could have been one of the best clutches in FNCS history as Verdeel stormed up the end game with a whopping 10 eliminations, clutching second, but unfortunately, second place does not count here. This is the last chance, Lobby, and if you're not winning a victory royale, Levin, you were not going to the grand finals.
I was certain he was going to do it. It just felt like it was just lining up. He transported back in time, Mini, and turned into Tap to Free Season 3 Verdeel. Back when he... And this is how he was playing. These are the types of shots he was hitting. The final moment here, when he hits that shot on the key, I was like, yeah, it's done. It's done. And then he shots them into Storm, and it's like they're fumbling around. They're missing the shots. All he has to do is connect. And unfortunately, he just doesn't hit the critical shots he needs to hit. It was this close. If he doesn't make it after that game, he will be gutted.
Oh, I mean, what a performance. Even just watching those highlights, I was sitting back, I was enjoying it. And I think ultimately right there at the end, it was because he had two shotguns. Of course, when you switch over to a different shotgun, you have that little bit of a delay. And I think that's ultimately the only thing that he could have done possibly wrong there in that end game was picking up that extra shotgun. Maybe the ending could have been a little bit differently for him if that wasn't the case. I think the worst part about that is he's gone through all that effort, all that work, and it means absolutely nothing now in terms of the standings. He's got to get back into the game, do it all over again. And I think hopefully that'll give him a little bit of confidence. That's probably the only thing that you can really take from each of these games. But in terms of the points, in terms of their push for the major finals, for the grand finals, it's done nothing. So they've got 3 games to do.
This is the thing. Verdeel is a man with a lot of experience. He knows Dusseldorf is waiting. He's got to qualify tonight. And I think that hopefully he's going to go down that confidence route, as you just mentioned, Mini Minor. I think another duo who'll be feeling confident, though, Mini, are Rax and Seti. They were solid on their surge there. They made it to the end game. They didn't look like they were trying to trouble themselves for height, but they also couldn't trouble the very last few duos.
Yeah, they couldn't. But what's nice is they actually made it to this point here, Levin. We were speaking about it at the beginning of the day. We were saying how they haven't been making these end games. They've been taking too much damage. They've been struggling when it comes to the Storm Surge sort of department. But this game, it seemed like things were starting to click. It seemed like things maybe we got a little bit of a taste of what we could get out of this duo. I mean, that from Rax right there, absolutely beautiful. That's what you want from your fragger. But it's more, hopefully, of the same for these guys the rest of the day, and they should have a little bit more success.
Yeah, I think the really frustrating thing about watching this game, especially from watching Rax's POV, is you see all the talent. Like, this is a player who should be playing in the FNCS finals, right? Like, this is the quality of player we want to see in these end games, and so it just feels a little too late. Hopefully in these next 3 games they can do something inspiring, but I hate the fact that they're even in this situation.
Well, it's a promising showing, at least, for them, and hopefully that means that they'll take stock, reset, move on to the next one. There's still 3 more games to go after all. For Doxy and Trip and Mini Minor, I felt like they were getting themselves also into a good position. I felt like maybe they were hesitant. They were thinking about taking height. Maybe they just thought better of the situation.
Yeah, and it's funny because they probably could have right there. I mean, Pink and Sato had absolutely nothing up on a height, but they decided to play the low to mid-ground layers. It was nice actually to see them here because we didn't get to see them in game number 1, and this is what we want to see from our experienced veterans of the region, going for those pre-edits, playing those mid-ground layers so well. But that's unlucky right there. That's unfortunate, of course, getting sprayed down from height there, Levin, but nice to see them in these positions.
Yeah, I mean, we can say this about all these teams. No, doesn't matter. Get on with it. So ultimately for these guys, again, with all their experience, they know what they need to do, and so it can be nice all you want. They have to deliver the win.
Yeah, it's really gutting for all of these duos right now, but the true test is whether they can pick themselves back up again, dust themselves off, and reset for these next few games. I am interested, though, from you guys, just very quickly. Put yourself in Pink's shoes, knowing the builds that you have. Do you actually try and commit to that height take, Levin?
No, that's not necessarily. Like, I don't think they necessarily played that bad. I think you're just relying on the refresh. I think what it did show is that an early height hold can work if you have enough, right? When were building full metal, teams were scared to take it, so let's see if they can replicate it.
We'll see as we're ready for game number 3 with Takata and Takata.
We're back one more time, Takata, at the halfway point for the last chance qualifiers. with two teams already solidifying themselves for the Major 1 Grand Finals, you have to imagine that for everybody else in the lobby, they're starting to get that little bit of anxiousness, like, when is it going to be me?
Yeah, and things are changing up. Wheaton and Frizzy no longer dropped at Wonky. Kind of changes up Pink Sato's early strat, like you were mentioning. They don't really have that third-party opportunity. A lot of things are getting mixed up, and the worst part of it all for these players is even if you get second place, like you were mentioning, it does not matter. You need to win a game.
But the deal with the time machine, Takada, he was flying out there. I think that there is still a lot to value. Let's see what happens here as Game 3 kicks off.
I really want to see it. I really want to see Vidil, Vampy take home a match. There's just so many teams I want to see win. Turtle, Chief, Seti, Rax, for Doxy. There's too many for the amount of available spots left. Thinking in terms of off spawns, we'll see if Vanya Pink can make something happen this time around. It has not been going their way in the early games.
Talent is really still left over and presenting itself here today in the last chance qualifiers, but knowing that we only have 3 more duos that are going to be cementing themselves on that battle bus for the Major 1 Grand Finals and having the opportunity to try and duke things out for a top 20 position for the Major 1 Summit Finals in Dusseldorf.
I just saw Seti get a knock, I think, in the feed, so I'm hoping it goes well for them. But for the latte landing off spawn, Ping is actually going to be the one that picks up the pickaxe Elin, the full 50-50 once again. Can it go the way of Vanya Ping?
What they need to do is not leave any survivors. REX has to be hunted here. They're going to make sure to at least clean up what they'd started by making sure to get that full elimination onto Sake, but for where REX is kind of run off towards, Vanya still looking to chase. Shots, not going to be able to make it just yet.
Vanya, this is a player that's tied for the most final appearances in the lobby with Seti. He's won 2 FNCSs.
No way.
And
Hear the waves turn